Good afternoon and welcome to Nigeria Now on Equa Television, where we keep you updated with the happenings in the country, one or two issues that we feel is very important that we bring it to the table, and then we also get you involved. So remember, you can be part of the conversation by joining us via Facebook and then drop your comment, your views, your own inputs concerning any of these matters that we will be discussing this afternoon. I am Sele Lashada Showman. Of course, I will be doing the program alongside Rachel Tanzi. Good afternoon.
Afternoon,
Rachel.
Sally.
All right, let us get straight into the topic for the day, and we would love to start with the issue that happened in Kogi. Last week, Thursday, about 24 students were being abducted from the university there in Kogi State, and as of yesterday, together with the help of hunters, about 14 of the students have been rescued. This was being confirmed by the police operation there in Kogi State. And we see that according to one of the students, he said that there are about 24 of them. Initially, the report had it at just 17, but according to the student, he said about 24 of them were being, abducted, and then we've seen that 14 have been rescued, and then we are hoping that the remaining will be rescued. And this issue of abduction, Rachel, I really do not know what is the way forward, because this is not the first university or this is not the first school that we are having that students were being abducted. We can go as far back. In fact, let's start from the Chibok time. I think that was when we started having the number of students and their large numbers being abducted from school. And then we had that of the Dapchin girls, and then we had that of Bethel in Kaduna, the boys. And then we can also go to Castina and then Greenfield in Kaduna, and then on and on and on and on, we've been having students being abducted. And then the question right now will be, what is the way forward? Because there was a time you and I were discussing. I remember when we had students being kidnapped in Zamfara State, varsity students, where we said some of them from the university as
Yes.
well as others from off camp were being abducted. Before then, most of the people or most of the students are mostly female students.
Yeah.
Now, the question to me, Rachel, or it has been really on my mind, it has been bothering me. Are we saying that these schools are actually lacking security? Or what really is the problem that we are having such number of students being moved out of school, and then without any of these, whether terrorists or kidnappers or bandits, none of them getting injured, and then they get away with these students and then nothing happened whatsoever. I remember that of was it in Kaduna, where we saw
Yes,
that
so
they kept
one.
shooting so
Yeah.
that nobody would come close until they were far away from being reached. And then most time we will hear that it's either there was a checkpoint about 1 kilometers or 2 kilometers away, and until they are done with their operation,
No
and
one
then we'll
shows up.
see
Yeah.
the rescue team coming. What can we do? Because it's one thing, yes, the students have been abducted, and we know presently the trauma is there and all of that. What can the government do? Because we cannot keep, I don't know, Richard, if this is the right way to say, but we cannot keep having the same incident happening over and over and over and over and over. And it seems as if the government of the day is not learning its lessons. Because one thing I know for sure is that this bandit, they use the same tactics.
They do.
It's not the different moves, the same approach they keep taking. What can the government of the day do? Because it really bothers me, Rachel, because I never can tell which school is next
Yes,
that they
exactly.
will be going. And then we know the way the weather is right now, it's the rainy season. So you could imagine the situation or the circumstances where some of these students will be kept, some of them no food, no shelter, and the weather and all of that. What can the government do to make sure that, what, if it is possible, let us look into making sure when you send your word to school, you should be rest assured that, what, these students are safe.
Sally, you asked a very important question, which is it that these schools are not safe? And the answer is that no place is safe in Nigeria, Sally. No place is safe. What makes schools easy target is the easy accessibility to a large number of people. I'm even going to take out student from it. Is the accessibility, easy accessibility to a large number of people, in the sense that if these people are only capable to go into two classrooms, for example, they will be able to go out with a good number of students even without raiding it. And let's not forget the aim behind this, to have hostages, to keep some of them, to free some on ransom. And the very unfortunate ones get killed, and all of that. We saw that of the driver that was killed, and all of that, and a teacher that died due to just, maybe she was maltreated compared to how the students, because the recent one where we saw over 187,
Yeah, I
but
think
finally when they were
in
released, it was
Ekiti
down to
State.
127
Yeah,
or
in
thereabout, and they
Kaduna.
said it wasn't up to 187, and we saw that the teacher died, and the children kept on saying they were being fed with bread and akara and all of that, for example. I think that school is an easy target because of what you can make do with in a very short period of time and go. If hospitals were like schools, I think hospitals would be targets too. If anywhere they can't go to a market, for example, in as much as there's a lot of people, they can't go to a market because it's not organized. It's not organized. People will run helter skelter, and before you know it, you can't make do. You just end up having casualties rather than a lot of people being kidnapped. But I feel school makes it easier because it's already structured in a way that it gives them easy access to be able to get a good, let me put the word, fetch a good amount of students and go. And they always go to schools that are in a little bit far from residents or in the outskirts. We talk about how the rural areas are most at times at the receiving end. But in my opinion, as it is now, it's more of easy accessibility than where is safe or not, because nowhere is safe. When you look at, first of all, we've talked number of times how we have station patrol van instead of, it's called patrol, but you are fixed at a junction. Are we not just supposed to put it as a fixed van? You are a patrol van, you're supposed to be moving, but you will see a patrol van stationed in a stagnant position. The aim is defeated. So even if something is happening a few miles away, because you're stationed, what you can intercept will not, you will not be able to. For me, I just keep saying, I feel and I see it as it's easy access. That is why we have schools. You won't go to the hospital because how would you go away with sick people? These people will die. You will eventually not pass your message. You will not get hostages like that of the Dapchi girls and the Chibok girls. They needed wives. They needed women to be at their services, and all of that is targeted. There is a target. You will think of your target. You will think of the easy accessibility to be able to carry out what you want to do. They are also intelligent people, these terrorists. And this is where it breaks my heart, because I don't care how intelligent they are or how they are more strategic. We are supposed to have our government, military and enforcement, and military and every other law enforcement agency 10 steps ahead of them. Because regardless of their intelligence, I don't want to sit down and think that bandits, herdsmen, unknown gunmen, terrorists will be more intelligent than the people who have been trained to be intelligent. And you rightly say it's the same pattern. So can't we decode a pattern and be ahead of them? I keep saying it. You look at an area and you know that this place is vulnerable. This place is vulnerable. That place is vulnerable. Are people on guard in all of these places? If you say no, then it proves every point that regardless of what is happening, nothing has changed. And that is why 10 years ago we'll have massive abductions of students, and 10 years now and counting, we are still having massive abduction of students, because you look at certain area where schools are situated and say, okay, from this axis people can go and go out free, from this site people can go in that area. We need to put in more protection. There need to be patrol. There's no such thing as a static patrol. Patrol is on the move 247, taking shifts and turns, but we don't have that. So even in our metropolitan areas and cities, if these people want to come in and abduct people, they will be able to do it. Looking at how poor our security is as it is now, looking at how poor it is, we don't even have emergency response line. Imagine the person who sensed immediately that he's been abducted or kidnapped. I know there are other factors in play. We are in Africa. We know the other factors in play. But imagine if someone has an emergency response unit that you could put a call. I think a lot of people, probably individuals that found themselves in certain situation, might not even find themselves in that kind of situation. So much work needs to be done. Is there any place that is safe? Said, I don't think there's any place in Nigeria that is safe at the moment. What is keeping you and I safe is probably how accessible are we to these kidnappers. We are not in an institution, for example, that is easy to be kidnapped. So that's what makes us safe. But the people that are in vulnerable environment will be kidnapped sooner or later, as long as there's nobody being kept in check to make sure that these people don't get kidnapped eventually.
Rachel, while you were talking, I mean, you're still in this country where we saw in a particular state that resident ran to the government house.
Yes.
Because they felt they were no longer safe. And I'm worried because, okay, right now we're talking about varsity students. Richard, it's already the rainy season. Farmers are already on their way to their farm. Now I am worried.
True.
How safe are these farmers in the farm? Let's say you make it alive going to the farm. How about harvesting? Will you make it alive to go and harvest again? So I'm hoping that, you know what, with all of this thing, I keep saying, Rachel, that I hope all of these are lessons and eye-openers for our government to realize that, you know what, we are lacking in this area and we really need to up our game. Really need to do something so that our people can vouch for us and say, you know what, we know that the government are trying for us. I mean, there's something when you know that somebody is trying, putting his effort, and then he can cover everywhere. Then when you can have the feeling that, you know what, nobody is doing anything anywhere, things are just happening and nobody's making attempts. So we look forward to seeing the government of the day rising up to the responsibility and, you know what, protecting lives and properties, because that is their number one responsibility. Now we're saying that the issue of electricity tariff, Rachel, let's go to another angle, have been the talk of the day, I think, for over a month right now.
Yes.
In fact, from last year, there have been this back and forth concerning the increase of the tariff. And we're seeing that last week, they've been giving this ultimatum for about 7 days, which they are saying that the NERC have to look into, you know what, cutting down the present tariff. We remember, I think, for those who are enjoying about 20 hours and above, they cut down the tariff to about, I think, 280.8 kilowatts
per hour.
per hour. And then I think they took it down. And then Labour was of the opinion, you know what, we don't want you cutting. We want you to totally go back on the electricity tariff. Now, according to the Nigeria Electricity Regulatory Commission, they said that it is it's legal that every 6 months they review based on what is happening. There is a need to review it. But then when we are talking about reviewing, Rachel, of course, I know that a number of people have said, you know what, Labour are used to talking. I mean, they will say, we're going to do this, we're going to picket their office in the 36 Federation, the 36 states in the Federation, in all of that. But beyond going to their office, beyond the industrial action, I mean, we have seen consumers taking it upon themselves. In fact, I remember one of the papers where the workers of the Electricity Commission said they're even afraid because when you go to a particular area, you know that the possibility of you being attacked by consumers is very, very high. And I think there was a time they said they were going on strike. They said it wasn't their fault. It was from the headquarters. Now, what is the way forward? We know that, yes, times are hard. I mean, today you and I were seeing on the papers that our inflation presently is about 34%. And I know that it's going to be the talk for the entire week. But now, what can we do? Already we are seeing that we're not even enjoying the light.
We're not.
I do not know what the Minister of Power is doing presently about this. We recall about 2 weeks ago, he said, if you are not seeing power, you don't need to pay for it. But then what can be done? Because you are paying for something you're not even enjoying. We're also seeing that while we are still trying to wrap our head around it, just recently we saw the issue of the cybersecurity levy, which is one thing on another side. But the issue of this electricity tariff hike, what can the government, I don't know. Of course, we know it's more like the oil, because as it is presently, there is also like say subsidy that the federal government is supposed to pay that is not paying. So right now, I'm just trying to wrap my head around this whole thing, Rachel. What really is happening?
So, the simple answer is where you mentioned the whole subsidy thing. Pay the subsidy. The federal government of Nigeria, pay. We are not even saying please pay the subsidy. You can't take out petrol subsidy and come and take out electricity tariff subsidy. It's not done anywhere except if you're a wicked administrator and you have told us your administration is renewed hope. Pay it back. Even if it is in trillions of dollars, pay it back. No matter how outrageous it is, pay that subsidy removal. Pay that subsidy on electricity, and it shouldn't be removed in the first place. I'm seeing a pattern where this current administration just does whatever IMF is saying they should do. But you see, you can't work solely with what an international organization is telling you. Do they know? To a large extent, of course, they do. It is the IMF we're talking about here. But what metrics are you using to calculate this? You've taken out petrol subsidy, you have floated your currency, and you come and remove subsidy for electricity. And then the question is, what have you done that within a short period of time, the impact of all of this subsidy removal will not be felt? The question is nothing, because it is not magic to know that if this continues, we are going to see hardship for a very, it's getting to a year of hardship.
There.
The moment we step into June, it's going to be a year of hardship, starting from first subsidy removal, because that was when the impact we started feeling the impact of first subsidy removal. Precisely that month, it will be a year into it. And of course, there's need for review. We can't say there is no need for review when it comes to electricity tariff. We're looking at other factors in play. We're looking at a grid that needs a lot of maintenance, for example, and we've seen how money has been embezzled. So do we say that there are other factors in play? Yes. We are seeing that the naira as against the dollar is losing its value. These are. But we know that the main factor, or the main reason behind this kind of outrageous high is not these two factors, because they have been in play and they have been there. It is the subsidy removal, and you need to pay it back. You need to start paying it, whatever the cost is, because we cannot have subsidy being taken from petrol. We are yet to see the dividends yet, and you come and do that for electricity. Now the question is, when you take out that of electricity, what is your plan B? For petrol, we do have one, that is refining our own oil. For electricity, what is the plan B? We've already sold it out. It's no longer ours. We've privatized it. What is the plan B? I don't see a plan B put in place other than continuous increase and increase. We've sold it out. We don't own it. So it's not saying, okay, when we remove this subsidy, we'll be able to save and start generating our own, and then eventually, before we know, we are contributing, giving to over 30. What is the plan B? Precisely, what is your plan concerning electricity? We have sold it out. It's now privatized. We're not solely in charge of it. So what are you trying to say concerning this? You have no option than to keep paying. Not as much as... Let them pay the subsidies early. As far as I'm concerned, that is the only way. And how do we make them listen? I think it's time we don't just wait for labor, because labor always want to dialogue. It almost feel like they're in the pocket of everybody. No offense, but that's how it looks like. We never get a result. So we are seeing consumers taking this personally, because you have to take it. How can you keep up? How can you keep up? Seller, how can you keep up with such an electricity tariff high? How?
You buy, you buy a unit worth 10,000 naira,
How?
and then you can't even vouch that
You
that unit is going to
cannot.
take you about two
This is
weeks. I remember you and I
it's an
think this
impossible
morning it was on one of the
situation.
papers business day when we were saying how much I passed my neighbor generator cost, about
Yes, exactly.
140,000
Exactly.
here.
And how much is petrol? Okay, you have the I pass my neighbor generator, for example. Then how much are you going to fuel it? And if you want to achieve something, you need to run that generator for at least 12 hours in a
True.
day. And let's not forget that generator precisely cannot take your refrigerator, cannot take anything. So it's either you have to start consuming everything you make every single day. That's already impossible for an average household, because we know storage is one of the reasons that is keeping our head above water when it comes to food inflation in the country. So why is the government of Nigeria putting us in impossible situation? If we can close our eyes, for example, on petrol subsidy removal, say that we can't do that for electricity. It's impossible, because it affects us very, very directly. Very, very directly in on every level. We can even, not to downplay, we can take out households, we can take out businesses, for example, because businesses are not up to the numbers of households, for example, and just focus on the household and see the misery that will follow with this kind of electricity subsidy tariff hike. I did 3 weeks in my house with the power distribution company I'm under without like complete and total blackout. And it's been 2 weeks now. We see like 2 or 3 times a week for like 2 hours, 3 hours. They bring it in night when we are sleeping, when we don't need it, and it's gone in the morning. And these are the kinds of things. And at the end of the day, your bills are just outrageous and they are piling, and you wonder how do I know how it was hell for me, because storage was not easy for those 3 weeks.
So you need to keep cooking fresh meals
Or
every
you
now
lose
and then.
what you've already prepared previously. And we know how storage is. You don't even have money to keep up with the inflation on food. How can you keep up with what you have managed to store spoiling, for example? And this is what every Nigerian is going through now, because you have to regulate, and there are certain things in your house that you cannot regulate. It's survival. So we just have to wake up and tell them, just as we went against cybersecurity, I hope we do this cybersecurity levy. I hope everybody speak out concerning this tariff hike, because it's going to mean more hardship, the kind of hardship that we can't imagine eventually, and this is not far from when it will start taking place.
You know, Richard, I'm just looking forward to seeing what this action taken by Labour, what it will lead. Of course, we know that already reps gave their own input concerning it, where they said there should be a halt concerning that, and that was when we saw the downward review of the electricity tariff for those in Band A. But then, how about the others?
What about
I
them?
remember, at the beginning of the year, we were being told that the first half was going to be very tough for manufacturers. But just like you said, let us rule out businesses. How about household? It's already a tough one.
It is.
It has been tough for the past 5 months right now, and there we are heading. Let's not even talk about the fact that the government is even yet to look into what is the living wage for Nigerians. Let's just look into the fact that you have to pay double for everything: food, transport, every other thing you're paying for. So I'm hoping that the government really, really hears the cry of the people. Just like you said, what is the plan B? It's already privatized. So right now, it's either the federal government pays this. And I remember, every time I see, when you bring up the issue of the IMF, where we have our government always listening to it, forgetting the fact that every country has the way its economy is. In an economy that you've not made other alternative for power, we don't have solar. We've not even looked for a way to start using
other generating methods.
And then here we are, you're trying to, the only thing that the common man is using to survive, you're trying to take it away and increase it times 2 of everything. I just hope that the government of the will really, really look into this and review, because believe you me, it is biting in every level, and every day as it goes by, Nigerians can no longer take it. It's one thing for a president to actually brag and say, you know what, I know that my people can actually look a way out of it. But believe you me, when you keep pushing them, we have seen that consumers are taking action into their hands. not only will they start beating the workers, but it will get to a point that it will give rise to chaos and disorder, and that is not what we want to
Yes.
see. That is not what we want to see at the end of the day. So let us look forward to seeing this action that Labour have taken today. I believe they're already doing what they're doing wherever they are presently, making work difficult for the workers there. But I believe that from whatever decision needs to be taken, let it be taken, so that, you know what, even if I'm paying, let me see the power that I'm paying for eventually. So I think this is how far we can go on the program. Thank you so
You're
much,
welcome,
Richard, for doing
Sally.
this. Thank you to our viewers, and also thank you for our supporters for keeping the dated game with us on Nigeria Now. We look forward again to meeting you tomorrow. To have a blessed afternoon.